Welcome to Pac-Man Championship Edition DX Plus. This game is not to be confused with Pac-Man Championship Edition or Pac-Man and Championship Edition 2. Those are three separate games. Today we have a wonderful race between Jammitch and Cerealmasticator. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Jammitch.
Okay, if you're both ready, I think we can just go straight into it.
Ready when you are.
Okay, I'll count you down with 3, 2, 1, and go! So this is Pac-Man Championship Edition Deluxe. It is like a base Pac-Man game in that the goal of the game is to eat all the dots. The ghosts are invincible unless you eat a big dot called a power pill, in which case they will turn blue, and you can eat the ghosts too. This, however, is a bit different from your classic Pac-Man. You will see that whenever you clear out one side of the screen, a fruit will spawn, and when you eat that fruit, it will refresh the dots on one side of the screen. To beat the stage, you have to eat all the dots, get all the fruits, get all more dots, and continue that until the stage ends. So your normal Pac-Man game has the 4 roaming ghosts. This game has a mechanic where there are also stationary ghosts. The stationary ghosts just spawn in with the dots. If you get close to them, they will alert and they will start chasing you. The other interesting mechanic about this game that makes it very fun for speedrunning is the game speed. At the bottom center of the screen, you will see a giant number, and that is the speed of the game. The higher that number goes, the faster the game goes. Which, when you're speedrunning this game, we want a really high number because we want to go fast. The way you raise this number is by getting points. Now, dots themselves are worth some points, but where the points are really at are eating the ghosts. So generally, one way we get up game speed is by making a long chain of ghosts and then eating just a bajillion ghosts all at once. It should be noted that when you eat your first ghost, it's a little bit slow. When you eat your second ghost in a chain, it's a little bit faster, and so on and so forth. So because eating that first ghost is a big time investment, generally the runners are going to want to eat lots of ghosts at once, because eating one ghost at a time is slow, but eating a lot of ghosts in a big chain is fast. It gets you a lot of points, and it gets that game speed up.
Just realized I forgot to start my RTA timer because typically I run this game within game time. So it'll be off by about 2 minutes.
Fine. I think that'll be fine, I think. The other mechanic in this game that's not really in any of classic Pac-Man is at the top right corner of the screen, you will see a bomb indicator. At the beginning of the stage, you get a certain number of bombs, and whenever you use a bomb, it resets all the ghosts back to what I like to call the penalty box. So that big ghost box in the middle, all the ghosts will go back to the penalty box. It is a little bit slow to use a bomb, both because there's an animation for it and it lowers your game speed a tiny bit. But dying resets your game speed really low, so generally using a bomb is going to be faster than losing a life. Right now we're on stage 2, which is called Highway. This stage is all about them screen wraps. As you'll notice, almost the entire sides are open. So this stage is very much screen wrap city. One thing that Jammitch was telling me is the best thing to do is actually to look ahead of you. You have to look where you're going. You want to look one screen wrap ahead. But you can see how fast when they eat these big long ghost chains here, you can see how fast their game speed goes up because ghosts are big points. This game is theoretically entirely deterministic. The patterns the dots appear in are always the same, and our runners, if you run the exact same routes, the exact same way every time, the ghosts will behave the same way. However, it's hard to keep that consistent.
And you basically have to make all your turns frame accurate for that to be true.
Oh, one other small but important gameplay mechanic I didn't mention is the sparks. If you buffer your inputs around corners, you will see Pac-Man makes little sparks, and those do give you a slight speed boost around corners. So you can see here deftly weaving in and out, screen wrap, screen wrap.
As a consequence of the sparks, we buffer turns and we take extra turns whenever it's safe. Safe being kind of big operative word there.
Yeah, or when it's ever faster, going straight's going to be going faster than, four lefts. But yeah, so whenever it makes sense, they will route in what seems like extra turns. Another thing is occasionally you might see the runners do like a little stutter stop or a little back and forth. That's generally to manipulate the ghost AI. The ghost AI or where the ghosts go is determined entirely on your position. So sometimes you need to, stop a little bit and let a ghost train pass, or if you just like take a corner a little bit slower, it'll affect whether the ghosts go left or right. So if you ever see any like weird little stutter stops or tiny back and forths, that's usually the runners trying to sort of manipulate the ghost movement. So right now we're on the third stage, which is Junction. This stage is all about, well, as the title implies, junctions. So there's lots of like four ways here, which can make predicting and manipulating the roaming ghost behavior a little bit difficult.
It's definitely one of the least consistent stages in the game.
But just as a fun thing, the roaming ghosts from this game actually retain their AI from the original Pac-Man games. A fun little side note, which if you didn't know, in the original game, um, Blinky always tries to be behind you, so he's always trying to chase you. He's the red one. Inky, which is the blue one. Um, well, actually, let's go with Pinky, which is the pink one, surprisingly enough. Generally is trying to cut you off. His AI is uh, finding the best path to be right in front of you. So they're sort of opposites. Red tries to chase you, and pink tries to cut you off. Clyde, I like to say, is who is the yellow ghost, is like Sundari. He wants to get close, but not too close. He will behave like Blinky until he gets in a certain distance for you, and then he'll just kind of hang back a little bit. He's a little bit shy, just like, I don't want to get too close. I'm just gonna hang back a little bit. And then Inky is kind of the unpredictable one. He has basically a very complicated formula that, while deterministic, is basically sort of there to introduce chaos. So that is the roaming ghost behaviors. The stationary ghosts will always just pick the best path to chase you with. Yes, notice me, Pac-Man senpai. Exactly. That is very much what Clyde is doing. Okay. So we will soon be moving into stage 5, stage 4, which is spirals. And once again, as the name implies, and as we're going to see within the first few screens here, this one is all about spirals. Beautiful spirally patterns. Both the dots are in spirals and the ghosts are in spirals. Just so pretty. So twirly. Once again, you can see at the beginning here, we're trying to build up those ghost chains so we can eat a whole bunch of ghosts at once and build up our speed. And here we got the butterflies. It's I just find the patterns in this level very visually appealing. Sometimes our runners will be taking the most obvious paths through the levels, the ones that the developers kind of lay out, and then sometimes you'll see them go like ways you really wouldn't expect. And most of the time that they're doing that, they're trying to line up those ghost chains. They're trying to manipulate those ghosts to cluster together.
Sometimes there's just sneaky ways to go faster than what it looks like. We'll see that towards some of the later stages in the run more prominently.
And also, if you're wondering how far our runners are through a level, if you look at the sides, there's those apple indicators. That tells you how far they are through the level. Wow, this level gives you 9 bombs. That is so many.
I think you start with 5, and then you get some as bonuses as you play.
Yep.
And that was
So I guess I could talk about that. The stages, you start with a certain number of bombs, and then some of the stationary ghosts can give you bombs back. And there's exactly one special level where there's just bombs sitting in the field, too. Okay, Jammitch is slightly ahead, but Cereal is sticking in there. Right now, Jammitch is moving into dungeon. This is a very tight, very claustrophobic level. There's very little room to work with. We
Did I
got
skip? Did I skip a level by mistake? I am on Manhattan. Did I miss dungeon, or is dungeon yet to come? I guess I'll
I
figure
have
that out in a
dungeon
minute.
in my notes before Manhattan.
I did the notes off of speedrun.com. The order might be weird.
Okay. No, this is Manhattan. You are right. I think my notes are backwards. We're moving into Manhattan. This one is all themed. Yeah, because this looks like Manhattan. Is all themed after. That's my bad. Is all themed after city blocks. So you'll see lots of big honking squares that we can't do anything or we can't run through. Those represent the buildings. One interesting thing about this level is if you time your power pills right, you can have really long bouts of being in that power pill state. Almost like a full minute.
So what's actually interesting is every level in the game is basically set up so you can do that, because there's a bunch of different modes, and one of the modes is Ghost Combo, where you just need to stay in Power Pill as long as you can and eat as many ghosts as you can before it goes away. So you got all those stationary ghosts with all those Power Pills. This is the first time in the speed run where
Yeah, and a lot of that's just because you have so many ghosts walking away in this level. Just in case, one other nice thing is you can see how much time they have in the power pill state up. If you look directly under the timer in the center of the screen, there will be a little orange bar there that will deplete, and that can show you how much time you have left in power pill state. You can also see your lives in the upper left, to the left of the timer, but it's going to be extremely rare. Both of these runners are pretty experienced, and it's going to be extremely rare for them to die, especially since generally they will sacrifice a bomb rather than take a death, just because it's so much faster just to use a bomb than it is to die. Dying is the biggest slowdown in the speedrun. Okay, now this one is dungeon, because this is tiny and claustrophobic. There's very few lanes to work with, so you really gotta make sure you're hitting the right lanes, since there's not a lot of places to escape to if you mess up. Yeah, my notes were backwards. I'm sorry about that.
You be scared I was really far behind.
I apologize. I've only played this game casually. I've not actually speedrun this game. You were telling me, Jammitch, though, that this is actually a very consistent level, too. That is the thing about this game, is if you can stay on route, you pretty much know what you gotta do in what order. But if you get off route, it's freestyling time. Yep, exactly. You just gotta kind of start using your instincts. I know, Pinky's generally the ghost who causes the most problems just because of its AI of trying to cut you off. I know Jammitch has lost many runs to Pinky. Okay, and if my notes are in the correct order now, then next is Championship 1. This game is based off of the predecessor to Championship. Like I was saying at the beginning of this race, the Championship Edition is the most poorly named series of games perhaps in existence. It's Kingdom Hearts level of badly named. This level is an homage to Championship Edition 1, which was the first game in the Championship Edition series. You will notice that this level has exactly 0 stationary ghosts. And that is because stationary ghosts are a mechanic that was added in the second Championship Edition game, which is this one, Championship Edition DX. So this can be really, really chaotic because you're only dealing with roaming ghosts. You start with all 4 roaming ghosts on screen. And the roaming ghosts are much harder to predict than the stationary ghosts. And also, because there are no stationary ghosts, we can't do the trick where we try to group up a lot of ghosts together in order to gain speed. So game speed-wise, this is one of the slower levels because there's just not those big ghost chains that the runners can abuse to get their game speed up really fast. So this is probably one of the least consistent levels. Pinky. The one thing that you've probably seen already, but I don't think I've explicitly mentioned, is there is a bullet time mechanic in this game. If the game detects you are really close to dying, that there is a non-powerful state ghost very close to you, it will actually slow the game down and give you one last chance to, make a quick turn and escape those ghosts. This is great for a casual player. For a speedrunner, it means if we get too close to a live ghost, we're going to slow down. Bullet time is slow. So, you have to keep your distance from the ghosts, otherwise you're going to get that slowdown. And that happens a lot in this level, because this level, it's really hard to predict where all the ghosts are going to be. Okay, so, Championship 1 is... Nope, that's not true. I was about to say something that is not true. Okay, Stage 8. Stage 8 is the last of the original stages. This game released with 8 stages, and then there's 4 DLC stages that were added to the game later that our runners will also be racing through. This is the last of the original release stages, the non-DLC stages. This is a very long, very technical stage, and it is going to employ a technique that the community calls ghost busting. One very interesting thing to know about the train of ghosts that follows you is that it maxes out at 30 ghosts, probably for performance reasons, honestly. In most levels, that's not gonna really matter one way or another. But here you'll see that there's a bunch of ghosts that are blocking our paths. Oh, and there we did it. I saw Jammitch do the ghost bust. There's ghosts that are blocking our paths. So what we can do is, if we very carefully and with precise timing position ourselves between a maxed out ghost train and a ghost that's getting in our way, the ghost that's getting in our way will try to add itself to the ghost train, but then the game says, well, I can only have 30 ghosts in the train. So it basically is the equivalent of despawning that ghost in our way. So basically we're trying to add a ghost to a ghost train that doesn't fit, and we're doing it in such a way that it basically despawns and gets the heck out of our way. So the game is expecting you to either eat the ghost to get out of its way, or, add it to the train and have to go all the way around. Well, we're kind of exploiting that maxed out train mechanic to despawn the ghost that's in our way. And both runners pulling that off really well. So you're seeing these ghosts, and they're just kind of like exploding into nothingness. That's what's going on, is they're trying to add themselves to the ghost train, but the ghost train's too full, and they just despawn. You just go poof. And in most levels, there's not enough ghosts directly in the path to need to do this, but this level is the level where ghost busting is the most useful. Unfortunately, Cereal taking a death there. Not too surprising. This is a very long, very technical level. It's very easy to get off route. Yep, this is definitely a stage where you can max out the game speed, which is, I believe, 50? Some levels, there's just not enough points to max out the speed, but this is one where you definitely can get, you can see on Jammitch's side, he's at max speed and he's zooming. Cereal's still really close behind though. This is a good race. And then, yeah, this is kind of the mastery level. Like, it throws a little bit of everything at you. It's sort of a reprise of the previous 7 stages, being the last non-DLC stage. And it tests all of the skills that you have learned. Plus a few speedrunning techniques if you're speedrunning it. Okay, Jammitch just a tiny bit ahead is moving into the first DLC stage, which is Mountain, which I think we both agree this is not a mountain because this game does not have slopes. This is in fact a ziggurat. And what you're going to be watching our racers do here is a bunch of staircasing. They're just going to staircase, 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 go to the other side, staircase, staircase, staircase. This entire map, I guess, stage, I guess is the technical term, very much is you're running up an infinite staircase. This is also, if you look at the IL times, this is the shortest level in the game. The shortest stage in the game. I actually really like this stage. I think it has a very interesting design. Just with all the... You gotta have really precise corners, because it's staircase, staircase, staircase. I mean, marathons are a completely different animal from trying for PBs. Yeah. Of the DLC levels, I think this one has the most unique design. Okay, and Cereal getting through championship there, and Jammitch just finishing up Mountain. Jammitch is now going into the second DLC stage, which is Big Eater. As it implies, the point of this stage is you want to eat all of the ghosts. There are so many ghosts. There's roaming ghosts, there's stationary ghosts, there's ghost trains, there's power pills everywhere, and the theme of this level is eat the ghosts. I know this is one that's a fun high score challenge, but because eating single ghosts is slow, once again, our runners are going to be trying not to eat that many ghosts, because eating ghosts is slow, unless you can eat a bunch of them at once. Yeah, just to see if you could beat the level with it is. I think it was theoretically possible to beat this level without eating anything. This level is also kind of unique, and I guess I didn't mention each level has a free power pill in the middle of the screen that you can choose to use at any time that it benefits you, which those are used to great effect in the speedrun. But Big Eater has 3 power pills that you may use at any time. Once again, because the entire idea of the level is eating ghosts. Up. Cereal's coming into Big Eater. And Jammitch is almost done. Pew, 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 pew. That actually gives Cereal a little chance to come back. Yeah, like we said, this game is theoretically deterministic, but, I mean, you miss one turn, or you don't make, one thing properly, and suddenly you don't know exactly which way the ghosts are going. Okay. No, go ahead. Yeah, missing a dot's another big one. If you have to go back and get a dot, you're gonna lose the routing on the ghosts. So Jammitch is moving into Championship 3 here. This level is interesting because it's the only one that has just bombs just sitting in the level, like for you to pick up. That's an interesting about it. Once again, because it is based on Championship Edition, the original game, there are no stationary ghosts, it's just roaming ghosts. And, oh, it does, just not many. But it's basically the same idea as the earlier Championship-themed level we saw, just a little more difficult and longer. I guess. Not to be confused. The level is Championship, not to be confused with the game Championship 2. Just this entire series of games has a very poor naming scheme. That's all I'm saying. Oh man, $800. That's not bad. Thanks everyone for donating. Of course, you're watching Link to the Cure. We are a speed running charity marathon benefiting child support. Thank you so much for everyone for your donations or just watching. Twitch's only metric is viewers, so just you watching helps promote the stream. It helps more donators get in here. So we appreciate you being here. Which I mostly say because this level doesn't have too much to say because it's very similar to the previous levels in this series. Besides the free bombs just kind of hanging out there. Which is this level's distinguishing feature. Watching Jammitch juggle the ghost train there. Trying to wait. The ghost train almost feels like the old arcade game Snake sometimes because it's following your path. You kind of have to wait for the tail of the ghost train to get out of your way sometimes. You just kind of gotta, walk back and forth for a second until the end of the ghost train gets out of your way. Okay, so the last DLC stage and the last stage that you will see in this race is Highway 2. Much like Highway 1, this stage is all about the screen wraps, except it's bigger, it's harder, and it has more ghosts and more annoying places. And once again, you want to look one screen wrap ahead in case Kiki decides to cut you off. Yep. I just find this whole game is very aesthetically appealing. It's got the big neon colors going on. Like the retro 80s look. Okay, Jammitch getting close to max speed here, which is where things start getting really disorienting. Yeah, you're both on the default skin today. I know the one Jammitch really struggles with is there is a Dig Dug skin.
No, I hate the skin.
But yeah, they got, so because it's a Namco themed game, there's Namco skins, there's a Dig Dug and there's a Railiac skin as well too. The other skins are more just look different and but not different enough to affect your gameplay. And that is going to be time for Jammitch.
GG.
Finishing at who knows because someone forgot to start the timer at the right time.
Yeah, 33:15-ish, I would say.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, just glancing at mine.
And Cereal not that far behind. This was a really good race. This was a fun watch, y'all. About halfway through Highway 2 here. So any final thoughts on that run, Jammitch?
Oh, you too. Okay. I had to Yeah, I had to use 3 bombs on Champ 2, where like maybe 1 is the norm. Like, it was horrible. I died twice at half, and they were both technically due to me trying to bust.
Yeah, there is kind of this annoying thing where the power pill will end and your bullet time won't kick in, and you can basically have a ghost be right on top of a ghost, miss it by a frame, and die. That's a fun one.
Yeah. Not bad,
Bad at
especially for a
all.
marathon. GG. Cereal, do you have any thoughts on the run? Yeah,
It's an amazing modern reimagining of Pac-Man, and it's actually very different because of the ghost trains while keeping the same core mechanics, and it's just so elegantly designed, top to bottom.
okay, if people are interested in running this game, do you have any resources they could look at?
Yeah. Yep, and I believe we have a Discord. I think it's probably linked to from Speedrun, but also post on the forums there, and we'll get you hooked up. Yeah, Mr. Hallwood is miles ahead of everybody. Like I think I'm the second best,
Yeah.
and I can't touch his stuff at all. So it's him and everybody
I
else.
think that's going to be it from us then. Thank you for watching, and please keep watching A Link to the Cure and keep donating to Child's Play. I'm going to throw it back over to the restreamer, and we will have another awesome run coming up next. Okay, see you in 15 minutes.
Jammitch.